Hey guys, welcome back. Today I will be talking about the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 DLC campaign, or standalone release if you bought that separately, of Torna, the Golden Country, which is a prequel of sorts to Xenoblade 2. So if anyone who's already seen my Xenoblade 2 review knows kind of my experience with the series, but I've played 1 and 2 so far, and now Torna, but that's all I've played. Haven't played 3 yet, or X. But yeah, that's my experience with the series so far. So my thoughts prior to playing this, I knew very little. I knew it was a prequel that, starring Laura and Jin, who were just Jin was a big person in Xenoblade 2, but Laura, not so much, just in backstories and whatnot. So now that it is back in the past and we get to see that, I thought that would be interesting. The only other thing I knew about the game, besides that, is that I heard this from my friend who really likes Xenoblade 2, is that at the end, it basically makes you do just about every single side quest. Like, you can maybe skip, a few, but, you have to have done, most of them, or else you can't complete the game. So I knew that was a thing, so I kept that in mind while playing and did the side quests pretty much right when I got them so that they didn't pile up. So that's about it. About what I knew prior to playing. So I don't like giving big things on the plot because it takes too long. So my little, short sentence overview of how the plot begins is Laura and her blade Jin encounter Adam and Mithra, and they set out to defeat Malos. But if you already played the original Xenoblade 2, you probably already know how that ends, but still. So, the gameplay itself has been changed in small ways. So instead of just there being the driver that switches out their weapons with whatever blade they have equipped, now you are set to a driver can only have 2 blades, but these blades are preset and you can't switch them out with a big collection. So each person just has their own 2 blades, and it just focuses on those 2 instead of having the randomly generated ones from the core crystals, which could be frustrating in the original Xenoblade 2. And you can just switch out with either playing as the blade or playing as the driver using their own weapon. Alright, so getting into what I liked and what I didn't like, starting with what I liked. I thought overall the gameplay was actually a lot better. So, just the conversion to just going from trying to manage 3 blades at the same time to just 2 makes things a lot simpler, so there's not quite as much on your mind while you're in gameplay. And they tweaked a few little things too, like the chain attack system. In the original, if you were going to do that to get a burst orb, which will do a lot of damage, you had to complete a level 3 blade combo, which is tedious. But in this, you have to do a 1, 2, and 3. So if you do manage to get to a level 3 blade combo, you would have 3 burst orbs, which is really makes things a lot quicker and funner. But if you repeat an element, you want to get the same element twice. So it balances out. You can't just repeat the same exact thing. You have to try to mix it up with the other party members to try and get it to a full thing. And if you burst a certain amount of them, you just get an extra level 4 blade driver special attack. And it just it'll be pretty much just kill anything. I don't think I've encountered an enemy that a full burst didn't kill. But it's worth it because it takes a while to build up to that anyhow. So it doesn't feel like it's cheap. Another thing I liked this about the original as well, but the music is really good. I don't know what it is about Monolith Soft putting like these like really, really good tracks, like, and just saving them for like the extra campaigns, kind of like how Future Connected was. That one had really good music. I might argue better than what was in the original. Like, but it's all good. Like, that's just a really good thing for the series is its music is great. Another thing is due to the fact that like the character roster is smaller, because in Xenoblade 2 you have 5 drivers total, and in this you have 3. So I think just like because of like the smaller amount of characters that are there, I actually like the characters a little bit more overall than I did in the original. I feel like in the original I liked like 50%, and then 50% of them I didn't like. But in this one I feel like overall I liked all of them, except I still am not a big fan of Rigid or Aegean, but everyone else is great. Next thing, so they also introduced a new mechanic, which is community. So if you help out the people, you gain community through side quests, and then once you've completed enough side quests, your community levels up and you can do more side quests, and until you reach like community level 4, which I think is after like you've helped like 60 or so people, then you can proceed to the final area of the game. So, but I stayed on top of that basically, so it wasn't a huge deal for me. But yeah, because of that, it wasn't like that as tedious as I thought it would be. Some of the side quests in the original could be kind of tedious, just because it's like, go here, do this, or kill this. And while there were some of those in this, I think a lot of them were just not as bad. Like, in the original, I didn't really care about doing the side quests, just because like none of them were interesting. But in this one, in Golden Country, like pretty much all of them were at least a little bit interesting. So it was like actually worthwhile to do them. So the next thing, I sort of mentioned this, but due to the fact that like you can't like choose your blades for each driver anymore, it just focuses on 2. It makes things a lot better. So instead of trying to grind out every single skill tree for like all the super rare blades you have, it's a lot more manageable just because you're now down to 6 blades. And so it just cuts down on the tedium tremendously. Oh yeah, this is also another big thing. So sometimes, I'm guilty of this, but just I kind of figured that since it's a lot similar to Xenoblade 2, that I don't really need to read every single tutorial all over again. And so I would just kind of mash through them, figure out later that I needed to pay attention to that. But unlike in the original Xenoblade 2, you can actually find the tutorials in the pause menu, which makes things a lot better. So, good job. They fixed it. Hooray. Alright, so now the things that I didn't like so much. I think overall, compared to 2, the story itself is just not really as good. And a part of that is just because the player already knows what's probably going to happen, because they assume that you've already played Xenoblade 2. But so a lot of the things, like, you kind of know what's going to happen by the end. But, you know, there were a couple twists and turns, but overall, the story was just not quite as good as it was in the original. Another thing is the performance. While it's better than Xenoblade 2, like I never noticed any frame drops, which was good, but there's still a problem with like textures just loading in late when you skip travel to an area, which isn't a big deal because they'll all load in after like 10 seconds and it won't be a problem anymore, but it's still noticeable. And the last thing, I just thought of this. Compared to Xenoblade 2, which has you like exploring like a ton of titans, while it does introduce the new Tornan titan in the country of Torna, like in the name, you're only limited to Torna, which is pretty big, and sections of Gorma, not all of it. So like in terms of like what is explorable, it is a lot shorter, which in turn is probably due to the fact that the story is a lot shorter, because it only took me like a little under 20 hours to beat. So that was just something I thought would have been neat if there was just like maybe like a little bit more, like just one more titan that had a decently sizable area would have gone a long way. So yeah, overall, I really liked the game. I didn't know how I was really gonna feel about it going in, just because I'd heard a lot of controversy, especially with the having to do the mandatory side quests. So not really side quests anymore since they're forcing you to do it. But yeah, overall, it was pretty good. I'd recommend this to really anyone that's played the original. It's definitely worth going through if you've already gone through 2. It's just another 19 hours. But yeah, going forward, this is just a separate announcement. I'm going to be rating the games just a little bit differently. Like instead of giving it like a blank out of 100 or like a A- or B+, I'm just gonna grade it out of 7, just because sometimes I think back later, I'm like, yeah, maybe I should have given that a little bit higher, a little bit lower. But just like a 0 out of 7, like I think like even if it's just like that, it is not really going to change. And the reason why it's 7 is just because like it's like a good balance of like it's not too specific but not too vague either of a rating. So like a 7 out of 7 would be like, this was like an amazing game. Would recommend it to like just about everyone. 6 out of 7, really good, worth your time. 5 out of 7, it was alright. Maybe pick it up if it was on sale. 4 out of 7, it was not that great, but had some good points, and so on. But yeah, so it's that out of 7. And then if I do ever happen to play a really, really special game that is just like one of my favorites, I will be also having an 8th tier, which is the Hall of Fame tier, which is beyond a 7 out of 7. But I don't expect too many games will be up there. But yeah, so back to just the regular review. Adding this part just a little bit later. I forgot to give the game a score just because I was distracted with the announcement, but I'm giving it a 6 out of 7. I think just because it was a lot more condensed, I might have actually liked Torna just a little bit more than Xenoblade 2, but they're both great on their own. And I plan on playing Xenoblade 3. I have it. It's on my backlog. I'm not sure when I'll get to it, but I definitely will, and I'll probably make another video about it when I get to it. But yeah, that's all. Let me know what you thought. Was this helpful? Have you played Torna? Did you like it? Let me know in the comments. I'll see y'all later. Have a great day.